Hello and welcome to the Foundry Roundtable, the podcast exclusively covering the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your tame Foundry author, Dragoon1701, and I've forgotten to think of anything clever to introduce my teammates here, so please welcome DuncanIdaho and Greendragoon.
Little does he know, I'm actually future Greendragoon, and that's past DuncanIdaho.
Who am I and what am I doing here?
Don't worry, you'll eventually join a podcast.
I will. I was in Boston, and I was doing stuff with my family who was in Boston, and there was a battleship, and I was 4, and where am I? What is this nightmare hellscape?
This is the bad future that you have to now prevent.
Oh, I mean, we're basically working through reverse Terminator here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got to bring the kid forward into the future to then. Yeah. I don't.
So
think
that he can go back and change his own past.
Well, but what exactly would I change? It's like, oh, you should tell people that the future is going to be terrible, and they will definitely believe you because kids do that all the time.
Did this just somehow morph into the Sarah Connor Chronicles Roundtable?
Kind of.
That's a show that should have gone on longer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, anyway, obviously, this is kind of our last little bit of Foundry stuff before Victory is Life goes live, because we assume that there will be some Foundry downtime.
We assume, yeah, but if there's no new code branch, we might have already had... Quick. It could be quick. I mean, we may have already had our downtime, but we shall see.
Well, every time we predict downtime, there's a 50-50 chance we're wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. And
it's
who
like
knows?
predicting the weather.
Yeah, and since Kale, this is going to be our first major downtime without Zero at the helm. We'll see how well Kale, what his policy is with having the downtime, because he might just say we have it anyway. So I kind of expect a little bit more fluidity with this one.
I don't know. I didn't get the impression that Zero or Kale necessarily determined whether or not there was downtime. It was just they were the ones we went to and asked, when is it coming back?
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of, just taking it. I'm just trying to have no expectation. Like, it will be whatever it is.
So let's talk a little bit about where we are right now, because actually the author of this particular map just jumped into our chat room.
Yay!
So Duncan, you know a bit more about this than I do, so go ahead.
So yeah, this is the bridge of the U.S.S. Boston, which is incidentally a ship that is modeled off of one that's in Space Dock, an Ambassador class that's listed on some of the display panels. So this is the bridge, and the author, Gabby B, she designed this bridge as an RP map for her crews and her characters that she's created. So this map is very flexible and very customizable and very specifically set for this particular vessel. So it is a custom interior built onto another bridge map, but with basically very little of that original map visible. The ceiling is kind of is the major element, and then there's the slight dip in the floor, but the stairways are I think they're all custom. Yeah, because those are shelving pieces. And there's some neat tricks with the view screen and some other neat features of the map as well. So I'm just really impressed by this.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's one of her first builds too. So this is very incredible work for a relatively new author. So the characters, again, are based on characters that she's created. And there's a pretty neat feature on this one, so we'll sort of show off the party piece, is that there's a certain spot if you stand, you get a list of interact icons. And this is a great feature for any RP map where you want to have a little bit more user control about what's on display. And there's a lot of different things you can actually do with this, but here's what the author decided, is that if she is playing as a character who is included on this map, she will hit interact and will remove that character. So then she can use her in-game analog for that character. So that's a really neat feature, and other authors can basically do the exact same thing if they want to just change the crew complement. So you could even swap, like even have like different costume sets. So you could even do different eras where you have one crew that's in TNG uniform, one crew that's in Odyssey, and be like let users select which crew they have. You can also do that for other things like battle damage. So you could create some pretty elaborate scenarios on an RP map. So it's a work in progress. So these large white panels, she's going to be working on a little bit more. But I was just so impressed with this bridge seating, the major seating area over here. There's some really nicely set data pads, some great use of assets, very fine detail work, and great circular building technique. And that's always one of the harder things to achieve in the Foundry, is to get the angles perfectly right, all the edges perfectly right. And this is just top-notch fine detail work. And then there's some really great work. Like my favorite thing is back here, just these partially visible display panels to give this really nice custom display panel.
And I happen to know these are the ones. Are these the ones that have the ships on them, or?
Mm-hmm. I believe so, and they're just partially cut off. I'm not quite sure if they're like if they're like the full Odyssey or they were built into the base map. I'm not quite sure which base map this is. I thought it was Prometheus.
It's Prometheus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then those are definitely not. Those are definitely the larger like Odyssey display panels. And
yeah, I mean, other than the ceiling, I really don't see very much in here that's from the actual map.
Yeah,
just the view screen.
Yeah, because the stairs were
the view screen would have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
unfortunately we don't have good view screen assets, do we?
There's one that I use, but it is a little hard to use in Lighting 2.0 because it is very, very bright, because it has other objects associated with it, which do for some reason have a giant light source. But the one
that reminds me, if you do change Dragoon to Lighting 1.0, it gives the map quite a different character.
Oh yes, right now.
Yeah. Because this is Lighting 2.0, you basically have these flat environmental lighting, whereas 1.0 you do have some dynamic lighting sources.
It is good to point out that there are still quite a significant number of players that are using 1.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for a lot of these interiors too, we're really limited in what we can do with 2.0 with these guys, even in 1.0. But since these were built for 1.0, the lighting generally works out pretty well. But using interiors on 2.0, I think it's generally a riskier process.
All the lighting, anything placed in lights don't work in interiors.
And
for reasons unknown.
Yeah, and there's some other issues with maybe certain maps having much too much lighting in certain view screens. But yeah, so
you don't get the nice glows off some of those consoles that are kind of inherent to the console, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so anyway, though, for this map, it's just, great, fantastic use of assets. Like there's a lot of these flat panels, which I'm trying to take a good look here. And
I think
it's the back of, let's see, I'm just trying to see over the edge here. I think it's the, actually, I don't know if this is the holding cell. I assumed that
it's not the holding cell.
It's not the holding cell, it's something else. But yeah, it's some great hold on, I was expecting these were the flat wide ESD monitors, so that's what those are. And then these guys up here, I want to take this map apart.
Is it possible she stacked several of the ESD monitors up?
She's saying back of ESD wall consoles.
Okay.
Yeah, so these guys are up here, but then I'm like right up here, the upper surface.
As we dissect her map and try to find like all the seams.
I'm gonna try shooting it. Oh, dang it!
No effect, Captain.
Okay, there we go. There we go. I can't really point this up. Damn it. Up. But yeah, it's great when you get to one of those maps and you're sort of arguing with yourself how exactly it was built, because then the author's really done a great job of blending the assets together.
When experienced authors can't figure it out.
Yeah. So anyway, I would kind of put this at a Johnny Snowball quality build. So people in the Foundry community, it's a top-notch build, and the author did a really great job, and I'm stoked to see what else she might create. A lot of these are great RP maps and also just sort of great screenshot maps too. If you want to start digging into that a little bit. I know we're a little limited for that type of screenshotting with custom characters, but I mean, just for the environment, it is still a really nice place to be. Oh, one thing to point out with the view screen,
what you would have. Go ahead.
The view
The
screen
little
makes-
beacon.
Yeah, that was a great thing, especially with using the mannequin stand right there to kind of put a little bit of a thing right there. And it's just, yeah, it's a really great use of that effect.
So one of the things I
what you
love
can- Go
in
ahead.
a map like this is when they take the time and effort to like do the patterning in the floor, like with all the borders on the carpet.
Yeah, I mean, this is just fantastic. I mean, I try to do a little bit, but I've never gone to like a partial circle and then a little bit of a notch here for the stairs. And then there's this concave angle here, which is, it's just so great.
Yeah. And
I mean,
what she did,
it's-
I'm pretty sure, is she put down the red first and then like carved out the border
mhm.
with the beige carpet on top of it.
I think
Yeah.
if you look at the second level, it's the opposite. It's the beige is going to be the bottom level with
Yes.
the red on top of it.
Yeah, and that's some great attention to detail.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just seeing, in my mind, from an episode of Seinfeld, Kramer, when he's redoing a part, saying, levels. It's all going to be levels.
Yeah. So yeah,
So,
again, that was Gabby B. And the mission is called U.S.S. Boston. U.S.S. Boston Bridge. It's still in review, so it could use a few more ratings.
So one of the things that if you do a map like this and you're looking to do some screenshots, demo record is a great tool. The limitation of not showing up with custom costumes in the Foundry can be gotten around using the demo record tool, which I'm sure we can find a download link for that. It allows you to replace costumes. So you can build a costume on one of your player characters and replace one of these costumes that doesn't work with that. And then play your demo record and it'll show up. I'm sure someone has a tutorial for that.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I've recently done it. I think the original link also has some kind of tutorial for it. If not, we can always do a little bit of a thing for it.
We could do that.
Yeah, because it still works. So that's the important thing.
So the author says she is open to suggestions. I would say the only suggestion I have is don't do like too much with these blank walls. I think there's room for a little blankness.
Yeah.
I'd say like a wall panel, like right here,
Maybe
or
like
and right
one.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, just
something to break
something
up the wall.
Yeah, something just relatively simple, but yeah, I mean, it would sort of have a really good feel to it if it's sort of like it feels really busy on this side, and then it sort of transitions over on this side.
Mhm.
So you get
'Cause
this
you
feeling
think
of
the view looking forward from the captain is all very focused in towards the view screen and the two, the helmet ops officers,
yeah,
which is as it should be. And it's something that you saw in the show a lot. I think, if you look at like the Intrepid Bridge, there's not too much here
yeah,
and here on either side of the view screen.
yeah. It's on the Galaxy Bridge too. Everything was facing away from the view screen, so in view of whoever Picard was talking to. But his view was unobstructed.
Anyway, let's see. We also have another map to show off. So, gentlemen, if we can beam out.
Okie dokie. And again, Gabby B, really, really fantastic job on this map.
Excellent job.
Make sure we leave rating.
So we have a new spotlight mission, which is actually sort of the first social map to be spotlighted, which is Starbase Invictus by Admiral Aaron. Now, if you played some of his missions, you may have seen that one already. and we have to travel for it. So let's go to the Kayana system. And that's funny, Johnny Snowball saying he doesn't always run out of assets. Remember, Johnny, when I asked you to help me to build a map for me that I could build on my own, recreating from what you build, and you maxed out the assets. It was a fantastic map, though.
Dang it, I can't give a tip because we couldn't technically complete the objective set. Okay, so one recommendation to Gabby B for these types of missions, if we can have access to the ending objective, that's fine for the use of the map, but we technically can't give you a tip for it. So like one objective that's an interact that's just like end mission, that's usually pretty easy to do that final synopsis, so we don't have to back out, drop the mission, and then have that as a way of giving feedback. Oh, wait a minute. Damn it! I dropped the wrong one. So I left Green Dragoon just a glowing review there.
Why, thank you. Wait, you left a review of my...
I
dropped the test mission.
I dropped the pilot.
Oh.
Duncan needs to look what he's doing.
Failure occurred between user and keyboard, or whatever it is. Chair and keyboard. That's what it is. That's all right. We've all done a few of those things over the years. Like me a few weeks ago when I placed a bunch of keys on the exchange and forgot one of the zeros on the end.
I've done that before.
I gave somebody a big present. That's all right.
If it comes around, it goes around. Okay, I gotta fix a review.
So what else is going on? We've had the DS9 Lock Box announced, which includes one of my favorite ships that is not in game previously, which is the Maquis Raider, or I should say the sort of second iteration of the Maquis Raider, the bigger one, the one that Chakotay flies and appeared several times on DS9. I'm quite excited for that. Got my low buy built up so I can get one.
Could make a Maquis crew.
Something like that. Obviously, you know, the Maquis don't exist anymore. Not that always stops me. I said this on Twitter the other day, but a long time ago, not in a galaxy far, far away, I was going to... I wasn't entirely happy with the sort of execution on the 2800 plot, which, you know, I thought the setup was fantastic, and the idea of bringing back that fleet was cool. But I was going to rewrite it and do a Foundry series, sort of an alternate take on it. And one of it was going to include a successor group to the Maquis, you know, somebody that was going to be fighting the true way, and then, you know, maybe could be allies against this new Dominion threat. I was going to call them the Sons of Eddington.
Mm.
And then it was going to turn out that the guy who was running it was old man Tom Riker. Having survived the Cardassian prison, he was out again and causing trouble.
Oh, my spore drive animation's a little wonky. Because it does a big barrel roll rather than flip, like spinning.
I thought they fixed that. No, for sector space transwarp, it does that.
Yeah.
Now that I remember.
You
You guys ready to go in this one?
I'm working there, making a big turn. Zhoosh. But yeah, I'm right there. There we go.
Now we can have a Jagora with us.
Well, technically she's not Jagoro, but basically yes.
Jagora and all her clones and various alternate versions are basically the show's mascot.
Well, wasn't that AEI Judge Cat? Well, same difference.
No, Judge Cat has a specific job.
Okay.
We haven't had to use the cat for the specific job, but okay. So we're not going to run through the dialogue or anything. We're just going to show off the map a little bit and let folks play this for themselves.
There we go.
Because this is, it's a social zone. There's a lot of little fun dialogues to read and that sort of thing. Quite a number of like Foundry in jokes and that sort of thing.
Yes, and there's one that we saw with the with Extinction that makes an appearance in this mission again.
But it's fun to see an author who hasn't had a spotlight to get spotlit.
Oh yes,
especially one who's been established and making missions for a long time, like our buddy Admiral Aaron. I almost demoted him there.
Well, he's blown up a lot of North Stars. Come on, I mean, eventually there's going to
someone's going to bust him back.
I'm just exploring the rest of the station.
Yeah, there's all sorts of fun stuff, and there's 2 maps actually to this particular mission, but we'll just hang here in the bar. We definitely encourage people to check it out and bring your friends. It is a social zone after all. You can get up to 5 people.
Indeed. And yeah, it's really nice to see this change of pace from the spotlights, because it does open up a whole lot new possibilities for people who say just build a single RP map, populate that, and want to get that spotlighted, because that is a big community. Like, that's a relatively big part of the Foundry, and so far it hasn't gotten the same attention as the full mission plays.
But that's all about to change.
Yes. And I'm turning off the lasers because that's screaming in my headset.
It does have a noise with that particular asset.
Unfortunately, we can't do Foundry music.
I so wish we could do Foundry music. I would love to be able to, have key timings. And Stowe's got some good music in its library.
Yeah, I mean, what they could do is an object that you place down that then has a musical cue attached to it. It'd be kind of a little weird, but you could do ambient environmental music with it. Rather than actually trying to score your mission, it's just part of the scenery. So I would really go for something like that. It's just, kind of like the laser beam. It's an object that has an audible effect, and it just happens to be a music track. You can have that playing for a bar scene, basically where we are now. Someone listening to a radio, something like that. So it's just environmental music rather than scored music.
Well, this is interesting. So we've got the ground scale dry docks, which are too small, or not to actual scale. Those are some of those ones that Taco imported by accident.
They're big enough to put shuttles in.
Yeah. So that was interesting. That's the first time I've seen someone do something like that with it.
Now you got the chat room talking about player created music.
I don't know if we take it that far.
Yeah,
it would have to be instrumental only, no vocals. otherwise you're asking for trouble. Okay, well let me see, because you got Lord of the Rings Online has this music system where they actually play instruments.
Yeah, it uses the ABC system.
Mm-hmm. And people can convert songs into it. Basically, if you have a song in MIDI format, you can convert it into the system and have it for multiple instruments, and people get bands together and play it. It's pretty fun. But obviously, it's instrumental only. So, I mean, player-made music systems can work. They can happen.
And, of course, with Victorious Life finishing up, Cryptic's going to have all sorts of time just to do whatever. Yeah.
Just to do whatever we come up with.
From now on, it's just coasting, right? Mm-hmm. No more expansions, no more seasons. It's over, right?
Exactly. Which according to Reddit and Twitter and a certain portion of fans, that will totally make them a lot of money and keep them in business.
Yeah, just coasting, just doing bug fixes. I mean, that's how games support themselves.
All new content and just do bug fixes. It totally makes you money.
Yes, it does.
/ sarcasm.
So anyway.
Okay, so what else is going on? Okay, so we got some interesting news about the 3D printing of ships this week. There's several new size options, which are quite a bit more reasonably priced.
And it's also a different style, too. So they basically threw in a new printing technique, which allows them to make smaller color prints. Now, this isn't using the same resin, so it's not as strong. So if you want the best quality ship, it's definitely still go with the other hand-painted options. But if you want something for, say, $20...
now keep in mind, there is shipping.
Yes.
And I think there's an issue with the shipping costs, right?
I think they said they fixed it.
Yeah, they said they fixed it, but some players are still posting on Twitter, and it's unclear how they're doing the troubleshooting steps, if they just kept like a browser open and just hit refresh, like, oh, it's still broken, or they actually reset their order. But from the successful order that I made, shipping was $8.
That sounds normal.
Yeah, it was normal shipping costs for the type of item that was included. And it was a 3-day shipping option, too. So now you can 3D print your ship in color. It's not hand painted, it's printed in color. You won't necessarily see your registry number. Let's put it that way. You may see something there, but it won't be legible. Yeah, I mean, we have the ability to get those ships.
I'm being attacked.
There's the 4-inch, the 7-inch, and then I think 9.
You found the dinosaur.
Ow. I got killed hard. What type of mod did you use here? Alright, big gun.
It's because basically I'm refusing to help.
Yeah, might just because it's scaled for 3 players.
So what ship did you order?
I did a patrol escort.
Yes.
I threw. You know what? I'll throw the picture in the Skype and the thing here. There we go. There we go.
Oh, hang on, I'll share it with the.
But yeah, it was basically, it's the one Federation ship that I actually, I more or less, set my character on. I generally was pretty agnostic. It was that and a Sovereign class. But that, to me, is the most special Fed ship in the game. And it has been for me for years. The only reason I'm not using it now is because it's Tier 5. Or Tier 5U, but it's like, I am wanting to do a little bit more fancy things with the builds, and the bridge officer seat and specialization does make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of, I think, probably one of the most interesting of the ships that Cryptic designed for this game for launch.
Yeah, and they did some really interesting things when they created the last Tier 5 ship from the C-Store, and that was the Tempest.
Which was... It's also a patrol escort.
Yeah, but what I just saw in the game right here is that from the combat, we were doing a loot roll, and we all passed on it, so Greendragoon won the loot roll with a roll of 1.
That's because I hit greed.
Yeah. But anyway,
I always knew you was greedy.
Yeah, so that's the patrol escorts using the Dervish saucer, the Griffon nacelles, and then Tempest, lack of the secondary strut, hull, and then primary strut. So yeah, that is a really neat looking ship. I do really like it, and for me it always kind of struck the best balance of this is what a minor ship in this era would look like. It kind of felt to me like it would be something that would make sense seeing it after Star Trek Insurrection.
So, now I think you mentioned somewhere on Twitter that you're not going to see this until September?
Yep, because these are... Yeah, so they're not printed immediately as you order them. There is a log. So my print will be initiated on August 6th, and it can take between 3 and 6 weeks for the whole process. And it says allowed, and that also includes hand painting on the larger version. So who knows if this will, like going for the 4-inch size, will speed up the process. Okay. But the one thing to note is that I saw someone more recently, like, do an order just yesterday, and their printing date is September. So basically, if you want your ship before Christmas, order it right now. Like, seriously, like go to a different browser, order it right at this moment, because the dates are being pushed back, and they keep going further and further back.
I wonder if it's just like the huge backlog of requests now that it's actually really affordable.
Yeah, and that's going to be part of the thing. So, and you can expect that just to keep going and going. So if you want to order a ship for someone for Christmas, or just do anything involving Christmas, now is the time to order. But yeah, it's a long process because it is custom 3D printing. But the website does allow you to keep track pretty easily. And yeah, so I mean, that's the new thing. And any ship is available to it that basically you can go to take to the ship tailor. Shuttles are available. There's just a small selection of about 20 ships that you can't do because they have floating pieces which can't be 3D printed.
Did we make this mess?
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it on my screen, so it's going to be
custom physics.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, Admiral, and we messed up your base.
We made a mess.
Just hope he has a good maintenance crew.
Oh, they're pretty well trained. They get lots of practice building ships or rebuilding ships.
There's an army of self-replicating exocomps.
And 3 North Stars in reserve, just in case 2 go on the same day.
Are you kidding? There's like, a whole shipyard full of them. There has to be, just because so many get blown up.
The secret shipyards of Admiral Aaron. Oh, there's a Founder mission.
Yeah. Head outside. Click yes.
I clicked no.
Oh.
Yeah, we could head outside.
Am I going to regret not having an EV suit?
I think
I didn't have a problem.
You can still look at things.
I guess we got to get in the.
Hold on, I'm actually just going to quit my EV suit.
Oh yes, I do have an EV suit.
So basically, the only person here who's going to have an issue, because you brought an EMH, is my Jagoro 2.0. In case an EV suit is required.
I don't know if he actually put in any space volumes to kill anyone who doesn't have an EV suit or not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This is the gantry here is just ooh, outside the gantry. There we go.
Yeah, see, it's right over here. If you happen to have a floater, you can go and visit several locations, like that Borg cube over there.
I'm doing it.
I do not have my floater on me.
I have it. Ready. Whee!
But Jagoro is fine, so I'm guessing he
didn't do it. He didn't do a kill volume. Yeah, which is appreciated because. Well, it's just one of those things where you can, if you tell an author or tell your audience to put on an EV suit now, they will put on an EV suit. And if it doesn't kill them, they will think that it's the EV suit that's working. But if they don't have an EV suit and you go through that, you will just kill them.
I would love to see Cryptic add like a...
I prefer to just kill them.
I would love to see Cryptic add like a Lobi floater to the replicator so that people can replicate them whenever they need them.
Yeah. Or just, just basically you just put it in the standard replicator, not even for Lobi, but just basically
Lobi as in low quality.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily actual Lobi. Bad choice of words in hindsight.
Okay, so, wait, I found Zeph Films. Why is Zeph Films? Okay, talk to Zeph Films. There we go. Last time I did this, I won a contest. Could not fit. Okay.
There's a lot of little in-jokes in this map.
Yeah, right now I'm exploring the Intrepid. Yeah, you can't actually, like, we're pretty much at the height ceiling for this map. Yeah, I used the empty ground map and did the trick of using using large objects to cover up the 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 texture. Whoosh. 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 But yeah, I mean, it's a good build, and we've seen a lot of this before for the actual Invictus mission. So it's really nice to see this spotlighted, and really give Star Trek a good change of pace when it comes to the content it's highlighting. Just saying, hey, we've got a lot that's coming to the game. Woo! I'm in between this. Oh, dang it! I can't really go that far. I was going in between the Star Drive section and the Saucer section on the Odyssey. North Star.
It's always fun to have a place to really utilize these ground scale ships.
Yeah. Also floaters. Because I've used them in a mission once.
All right. So, other stuff that's going on. Let's talk about what we've been working on.
Okie dokie.
You can go first.
Okie dokie. Basically, I've just been just trying to brainstorm what to do next, in addition to just working on some real life stuff. So right now, I've been really trying to put together a Dominion mission. So I've got a character set. I've got basically all the maps for it, because I'm repurposing some of the custom stuff I was going to do for 26th Century. Seeing that if I end up doing the finale, I kind of want to clean slate on that one. So I saved off like all the 26th Century stuff as a separate project file, and then I'm taking all the custom stuff I built for that one, and then that's going to be living out as a new mission with actually some very similar elements. I'm not really changing the backstory on the main alien faction. I'm just saying, hey, in 80,000 years, they're here in the Milky Way. So they're actually still from Centaurus A. So I potentially have the ability to work those in still to 26th Century. But anyway, so yeah, I'm working on that Dominion mission, and as I said there, it's going to be another future, but at a very different point than we've seen in the SDO timeline. So it's not like in the 32nd century. It's like, no, I'm just going to 80,000 years, and I'm going to be featuring a moment in the history of the Dominion, which is going to be significant. So the main idea right now is that the Dominion is still the Dominion. It's still vaguely in the Gamma Quadrant, and it's encountering an empire which is stretching out into the Milky Way from Centaurus A and has significant territory holdings. It's basically the new dominant power. So the Dominion is having to work with that, being very much in the position of being a smaller power. And there's something going on which needs the player, and there's a different type of mechanic to get the player involved in this mission, which I kind of want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about at the same time because it's a good gut punch right at the start of the mission. So we'll see. But anyway, though, it's also going to be from a KDF perspective too, because I thought that was a little bit more interesting than doing another Fed time travel mission, of actually showing basically a Klingon player going that far into the future and seeing that they kind of don't have a legacy. So what do they do?
So you're not going to make this for Jem'Hadar players?
Probably I might because it's KDF faction, it'll also have Romulan and Jem'Hadar options. But it's it's a complication right now. I'm planning on it, but for the major character arcs, I'm thinking about how to write this. It is going to be a little bit more Klingon, because that's definitely the most bankable reference point. So if I write it for Jem'Hadar, it'd basically be exclusive for Jem'Hadar, but I mean the way it works out, it's going to be character options. But it's kind of a similar ethos where you have this warrior species. It just comes down to a different style. The Romulans are going to be a little bit harder to throw in there, but it's basically going to come down to no sense of humor as a warrior, sense of humor as a warrior, and then other.
Then normal dude.
Normal dude, and that's basically Romulan. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it broadly. But it's just one of those things where
that is actually a pretty good way to describe your Republic Romulans. It's just sort of normal dudes.
Yeah, normal dudes.
Yeah, they're not the sneaky Imperial Romulans. They're not Vulcans. They're just sort of normal dudes.
Let's see. Oh, Horion, do you truly intend to retcon all my SSS characters or just another redesign? Right now I'm just doing redesigns. Uh-oh. Dang it. Oh crap. I got interrupted.
Did you turn off your floater?
No, I found it very... Okay, I did not find the cameo. I did not find this one before. Okay, I'm sorry for laughing like that. I found that Admiral Aaron had put in a very special DuncanIdaho cameo, where there's an exocom saying, "I'm the real DuncanIdaho," and then Starbase Security says, "You're not who you say you are," and then a whole bunch of Undine appear and get killed. I didn't find that one before. I thought I found it because there's the other, there's the Roundtable cameo, which we found. I thought that's the one he was referring to, but...
This place is weird.
This place is weird, and I like it. Anyway, though, for the...
That basically describes Admiral Aaron.
yeah, Admiral Aaron just kind of threw me off track there. So anyway, though, 80,000 years in the future, you've got the Dominion, you've got... faction coming in from Centaurus A. Notice how I'm not saying anything about the Federation. They're not there. Because I've got some ideas of what ultimately happens to the Fed, but I mean, there's going to be more direct hints than I put in my 4.5 million year future. But basically, it's like there's some ideas that are evolving behind the scenes, and there's some pretty strong indications with some of the characters that you'll be interacting with of who they're exactly working for. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of intrigue, but as a mission, it's hard to sort of wrangle all the pieces together because it's like, okay, I'm working in a completely new setting and working with a new faction, and there's the variable of Victory's life. So it's hard to see exactly how I'll be writing this one because I kind of need to know what's going to be happening in the main mission arcs to see what there is really to play off of in players' appreciation of the Dominion. So if Cryptic starts making some really big changes, like changes where the Founder homeworld is, then that's going to be something I'll have to take into account.
Well, we'll find out on Tuesday.
I'm going to go back to the Undine. So, Dragoon, I've been working on stuff.
Yes, and we have to leave this place if we want to see what I've been working on.
I think maybe we should leave showing for people to actually play when it's finished. But you can tell us about it.
Okay, so I have finally pretty much finished up the first map of the 26th Century Pilot, which is in the running for one of the most complex maps I've ever built. This was originally intended to be a simple introductory mission, and then I made it not that by insisting that it catered to both 25th century and 26th century captains. So the mission differs somewhat depending on which you choose. You get to choose it at the beginning, but I got it all the way to the end, and so you go through like 3 different maps worth of content, all in a single map.
In one map, yeah.
If depending on what you choose, it'll treat you normally. If you say you're from the 26th century, it'll alter it, and you'll end up starting out in the 25th century, come forward into the future, where you'll meet up with the Enterprise, and the Enterprise ends up like helping you kind of fit in, stay under the radar, about the fact that you're from the past. And so it's all set up to alter based on that initial choice. So the cool thing is that, I mean, it's pretty seamless. So if you pick one, it's not going to ask you again whether or not you're from the 25th or 26th century. It all automatically happens, and different stuff happens based on what you choose. But it kind of comes together by the end, and from there on. So I've got, we've got the shield generator, one more escaping Earth, which isn't very big, and
sort of the final briefing. This is what we're going to do. Get the fleet together and go off.
So that's going to be on the
that's where it stops.
Duncan's Enterprise J interior, and that'll have the whole like finding out what happens to Earth, and then the kind of the assignment, so to speak, where you're told you're going off to go there, and then like the final map is you warping to Centaurus A. So it's 4 more maps, technically one of which is already
pretty much built. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's in pretty good shape actually, and I've played through the test, and it works. I played through from both perspectives.
Okay.
Notice how I've left the starbase and I'm approaching the Tenebia system.
So even if we don't show it, you're gonna still give it a try.
Well, I'm just gonna give it a try right now and then do oohs and ahs for the benefit of our audience.
Okay. Do you think we should like open up the test to like our viewers and let them give it a shot? Just the full caveat that it is a work in progress.
I mean, at the very least, for people who did 26th century missions, to say we do have an intro for you guys.
Yeah,
it's coming.
All right, so
we are actively working on this.
If you are interested in trying a pre-release first map of a mission, the mission is currently published as
pilot
what
test.
Is it? Pilot test. It's in the review tab. Like I said, it blocks you from proceeding past the first mission. But for the most part, it's the first map is pretty well there, and the only thing I'm really gonna like tweak is like some of the transitions. Make sure that nothing is breaking horribly. If you want to let me know what you think, go ahead and either like find me on Twitter or send me a PM in game. Handles at Greendragoon for both, so it's nice and easy to remember. Don't leave any reviews right now because it's not ready to go to the general Foundry database. And after 5 reviews, that gets pushed forward automatically.
It's already got 1.
Because someone accidentally reviewed it.
Did you read my review?
Is it even about that mission?
Not really. I mean, like, I changed it to something else now.
Oh, okay. I'll have to read it later.
Oh.
Even though you technically... Are you even there yet?
I'm in the mission now.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I can show you something that I've been working on. It's not Foundry related, but it is Stowe related and user-generated content of a sort.
Is it related to a game of sticks and balls?
It is, actually. Okay, so as you guys know, probably, Thomas the Cat has created basically a whole league of baseball teams and put all the pennants and stuff into the Deep Space Nine map, or not all the pennants, but some of them anyway. And I have taken it upon myself to create a preseason preview, as if the next baseball season is upcoming. So I've written breakdowns of how each of the teams is going to do, and I will be posting them tomorrow. So everybody in the chat room here is going to get a sneak peek at one of them. So Dragoon, if you want to put it up on the screen there.
Yep, I'm loading it up now.
Quick note for Greendragoon: the thing did not crash my graphics card.
Oh, cool. I was a little worried about that. That's a lot of
I was wondering about
nebulas.
that myself.
Like, there's been a bug fix recently that's resolved some of the issues. So this is actually going to be the first summer festival which I'll be able to play without FPS drops. So some nebulas can still be a problem, but these ones are perfectly fine.
Well, that's good, because I was thinking about showing the coronal mass ejection by actually adding more nebulas.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Even if there's a little bit of a hit, I mean, for the effect, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. Because it doesn't really show anything right now. It just says what's happening, and I figured it would be nice if there was like some change.
Everything is working, and people will like this. It's very smooth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, it's certainly not over the top as far as plots go that I've worked on. But,
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say is that I hope you might have put this on a resume for making an application.
Not this particular mission, since it's still working on it.
Well, I know, but this is a great, if you ever need to throw something to some people about how you're able to build in the Star Trek objectives, yeah, this would be a good one to do it.
Okay.
It's proof concept. Anyway.
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, yes,
Yeah,
I'd like a few things on there.
Yeah.
That's all right. You see, you're not the only one to have applied for opening as a cryptic.
Oh yeah, I did too.
Honestly, I mean, I would be nothing would.
Time too. I believe I put on my resume that I tailored specifically for that one, author of the highest rated mission in the Foundry.
Yeah,
time was true. I haven't checked it lately, but
yeah, I got a bit of advice when applying the first time from about what to actually put on there, and it's just yeah, I mean, if you're just a Foundry author, it's just your missions, ratings, published date, and all that, just to show that you actually did things related.
I wonder if we could convince Cryptic to bring us in for interviews, even if we have no shot at the actual position, just so we can do have a fight to the death for the position.
I mean, that's kind of not to actually just throw myself under the bus, but that was basically well, I really don't know if I'd take a position at Cryptic, but I mean, just for the interview, it would be worth it. I'm still sort of really on the fence because of career stuff, but it's I'm strongly considering it, but I mean, at the very least, that would be fun.
Well, the one that I applied for was the writer opening when Kestrel left, so because I really have no background in game design whatsoever.
Yeah, and I applied to the Magic the Gathering writer position, and then the recent Stowe content developer position. I'd say a Foundry author is a lot better suited for the content design, because the content designers at Cryptic really work within a loose framework. And some of them do writing as well. It's just they're not doing the overall writing and ultimately proofreading the material. So, I mean, having a writer is great for that. But a Foundry author, I mean, working with the objectives, we got a really in-depth, just in working and seeing other people's missions, we do have a really strong working knowledge of what you can do in a Star Trek game, or in Star Trek Online in particular, and how people respond to that, because we get a lot of direct feedback.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like being able to kind of write in the tone of Star Trek, because there's a specific way that
there is, yeah,
the show talks and stuff.
Yeah, and I purposefully subvert that expectation with most of my characters.
I speak fluent Trekkies.
I've always gone a little bit more towards the Stargate side of talking.
I'm kind of on the Firefly side.
More like modern people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I'm even a step below that. I'm Farscape and Firefly with my characters in particular, because I'm kind of going for more of a Night Watch style crew that doesn't represent that pinnacle versus that pinnacle. So, I mean, for me, the use of casual language fits into the types of stories I'm trying to create within Star Trek, showing that flexibility.
So basically, you're writing for Discovery.
Kind of. except more funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going for the horrifying.
There wasn't a ton of humor in Discovery, was there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't go as dark as Discovery. I mean, let's put it that way. When I blow up the universe, I mean, it's generally something that people can handle.
So I would just like to put a shout out there for anyone who is interested. The position we were talking about was actually one that is still up right now, at least as of Sunday, when we're recording this, for a game designer content. And
it's for Star Trek Online in particular. And Kale, I mean, we got into this because Kale threw out on Twitter, "Hey, Foundry authors want to work at Cryptic?" So, I mean, they're actively considering Foundry authors for this type of position. So it's not going to be unusual to make that type of application, especially since me and Green Dragoon have already thrown our names into the into the hat.
I just want to point everybody out to this. This is the last things we'd like to see, and it's familiarity with the Star Trek TV and movies. If you have made a UGC Founder mission in Star Trek Align or Neverwinter, let us know. We would love to check it out. Include the name of the mission and/or your author name in the cover letters and/or resumes so we can take a look. So very clearly, it states that Foundry authors are something that they are looking for.
Yeah. And
Or
I
at
mean,
least,
it's
or
one.
at least certainly that's something that is a plus on your resume.
Yeah, because the tool set they use, it is more advanced, but there is a degree of commonality. So they expect that a good Foundry author would be able to work within their tool set and pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be exactly like the Foundry. They have a completely different tool that they build with, and it's
Yeah.
probably going to be a little more technical. But
And
yeah,
it's also going to be you're going to be working within, not as, as you do in the Foundry as an individual, but you're going to be working as part of a team, working to specific instructions from your, from writers, from the the environment artist. So it's going to be much more collaboration. So you are going to have to be able to prepare to deal with that. Because as Foundry authors, I mean, we're doing absolutely everything. And there's a tremendous amount of liberties you can take with a Foundry mission. So it is going to be, a different type of environment. But I mean, if you really want to get into game design, it is a great starting off opportunity to just to throw out there.
So speaking of design, one of the other things that we have gotten or will be getting that was revealed since the last time we had a show was that Taco found some time in his personal life to, instead of doing fun things like sleeping, he made ops for DS9. And it's awesome.
which I am so glad that he got to, because it was looking out of place with all the other wonderful stuff he had made.
Rather jarring to go from new DS9, which is excellent, to Ops, which was terrible. Well, I mean, not terrible, but certainly less advanced.
And it definitely shows.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, what's really going to look primitive now is any of the old missions that utilize the old DS9 maps, because they're not going to change those, and any of our old Foundry missions that utilize DS9.
Yeah, I mean, well, they are going to be trying to work on getting DS9 into the Foundry, so that might be a short-term problem, but we shall see exactly what they're able to deliver after Victorious Life.
We shall see.
Yes.
Indeed.
But yeah, I mean, it's on Tribble right now. Tribble is also unlocked, so all you have to do, if you don't have it already, just transfer a character over there using arcgames.com in your account settings, and then just load it up, head over to DS9, and take a look at this sweet, sweet, sweet new map.
Yes.
I hope they don't take away the dance strut. Because, I mean, that's really easy to jump on, and there's no other purpose but to hold parties up there, so I really hope that stays.
No, I mean, I honestly blame the original set designers for Deep Space Nine, so it's obviously their fault.
Well, yes.
They wanted a random pillar in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really random...
It's extremely random.
It should explain what this is. It's basically this little thing that you can climb on that's up towards the ceiling.
Yeah, it's like right over, like, if you're looking directly at Cisco's office from that central table, it's over on your right.
Here,
So
it is
just this
a good picture of it.
Yeah, it's connecting from one of the consoles, it goes up and then over into the ceiling. So it's just this random strut, and it's just part of the haphazard design of the ops map. And yeah, they gave a good Cryptic gave a really good rundown of how challenging it was to actually build this map during the last live stream when we held a party in ops. But
it was interesting to listen to that, because he, Taco was on, and he was talking about, going through the episodes and taking screenshots of every single angle he could find of things, and figuring out, different things that he couldn't find good angles for. And it was interesting to hear that, because that was, it was maybe not quite, it was more intense than what I did. but way back when I was building my Romulan Senate map, I wanted it to look like, it was going to be for a new city because of course Romulus is gone. But I wanted it to look like the one from Nemesis, if at all possible. So, I spent a lot of time looking at, Star Trek Nemesis and taking screenshots and stuff. And it's like, he did the exact same process. And obviously the results are quite excellent.
Yeah. And they of course also had the original plans, and they could kind of build to those, but yeah, that does still leave a lot of detail out. And there's one console that it's this little science console, like over behind, like on the back side of one of these stations, and he had to guess at how that actually connected with the floor, because someone
in the chat for 10 Forward Weekly found a screenshot
and was able to share that. It's like, oh crap. I mean, he got really close. It took me a moment to see how it was off. And it was one of those things where it's like, well, it has been like 30 years, so maybe they changed that a bit.
That is a console that no one ever used in the show.
No, it's just this display panel next to the floor. It's one of those things where players won't notice it.
Yeah.
And the current analog to it on the current map is, it's not even comparable.
It's one of those things that, you can see somebody in season 7 of DS9, Dax looking over. What is that for anyway? We've never used that.
Because I don't it's like for maintenance on that station. That's the only thing I can consider it for. Yeah, I'm just on the old map right now because I got done with the test play, and that is a good set of objectives. But yeah, it is a real night and day difference. I didn't think Ops was that bad. Like when we're originally told, oh, we won't have enough time to work on it. But oh god, it is such a difference what Cryptic is able to do with the game now. It's pretty amazing. And as Foundry authors, it keeps raising the bar.
There was an example of that.
Yeah, because with Foundry authoring, I thought I was getting to the point where I was building maps that were as detailed as what Cryptic was making, and then they started this gigantic tear with Agents of Yesterday, with just elevating time and again what their map design was, to the point where it's just like, I just want these maps. I want to stop building. I don't have enough assets.
What we can build is basically, equivalent to what they could build at launch. Yeah.
Oh no! I'm above launch because I can do indoors and outdoors on the same map. Yeah, it is such a tremendous improvement, and it'll be great to get that in the game. And it's just another one of those things where it's just Victory's Life, if you look at the absolute number of missions, it's not that big, but it does feel more special. That's kind of the way I'm kind of taking it. It does sort of hit the right notes for me for an expansion. There's things that I kind of wish they would do a little bit differently, but at the creative decision angle, with what's actually coming, it's just it just feels nice.
Mm-hmm. It feels on par with Agents of Yesterday.
Yeah, in terms of the absolute amount of stuff, but for me, it feels more special than Agents of Yesterday. They're both paying homage to a series, but I don't know. For some reason, it's with the DS9 stuff, with how meticulous they are in bringing DS9 back, and how they're playing this off in the main story arc, and how it fits so smoothly in with where we've been through seasons 13 and 14. It just kind of feels really just like almost a coming of age moment for Star Trek Online, that it's able to make this really well-developed transition from the old story arc to the new story arc, bringing all these characters in and really kind of doing what a Star Trek game should ideally be doing with this opportunity, which is just taking what it has and then building more out of it. Also giving us really cool toys and curtains and Garrick's Taylor. Those are fun.
And Garrick himself. They got obviously just an absolute ton of talent from the DS9 cast.
Oh, and we should also probably just for the news section announce that they did release the information for the upcoming lockbox, the DS9 Lockbox, which among other things, has holograms for some of the cameos.
Yes, it does. Interesting choices that they made.
I want Hollow-Wayoon. I mean,
well, yeah, everybody does. That's going to be the one that's in demand.
Well, I know, but I want it more than other people because I've got an emergency Holoshran. I mean, like, of all the players, no one else has an emergency Holoshran that I know of. I've got the emergency Holoshran, so I need the two to have a true buddy cop adventure with them.
I was telling people online, is like, if I get lucky and win the Jem'Hadar cruiser, which is, of course, is the Lockbox prize ship, what I would do is like try and recreate a little bit like a obviously not in likenesses, but the ship that Dukat was flying in A Call to Arms when he attacked Deep Space Nine. So you have the Cardassian captain, and you have Cardassian officer, and then you have Hollow-Wayoon, and then the rest are Jem'Hadar.
That's a good mix. Yeah, you would just need the Cardassian bops, and we're still not quite sure how those will eventually come to game.
Well, you could still do Alien Gen. I mean, it won't look quite as good, but you can still do that.
Oh, they'll still look like. I mean the base customization options were updated when they redid the Mirror Universe arc. So, I mean, you could still make some pretty good looking.
They're still passable. The Cardassians that are in the Alien Gen, and they always were.
Yeah, they're modern. So let's put it that way. The assets are modern. And it's kind of the odd thing too with the Cardassians and the Alien Gen. They technically have more face options, and they also have more hair options. So it's almost like it's kind of a trade-off. I mean, if you want the high detail and the the unique parts of the Cardassian version, or if you want to have a little bit more creative control, the Alien Gen is still a good option. But yeah, I mean there's that Jem'Hadar warship, but then there's also the Maquis Raider, which raises an interesting question.
Which is, will we get the Jaeger class?
Or when we're getting the Jaeger class, because Cryptic certainly wouldn't leave that ship out. I mean, it's glorious. It is such a fine design and emblematic in so many ways of how Starfleet was building ships at the time. As in accidentally talking parts together and saying, we made this, yes. We didn't make a mistake. Like, we didn't accidentally, you apply the wrong plans to the wrong design. I mean, we were being very thorough with how we're putting these ships together. We meant to take a Maquis Raider and slap on an Intrepid saucer section and just glue on the nacelles. I mean, we didn't take anything off. We just glued all this stuff together. And yeah, I mean, we're pushing new boundaries in ship design. I mean, the Klingons have nothing on this.
Well, I don't think there's been a Psi Raider in Stowe yet.
No,
I think honestly, if you were going to look for an in-universe explanation for that ship, it's that somebody needed ships right away, and there was, a half-functioning or half-built Intrepid in the space dock somewhere, and there was this other ship, which the Maquis Raiders are actually supposed to be Federation civilian ships.
Mm-hmm.
That the Maquis have converted for use as attack ships, and so there was this other ship sitting there. So okay, we'll just marry these two together and send it on its way because somebody needs a ship. Yeah,
and it's just there's just going to be some meeting where someone it's one of those things where everyone okays this until some admiral down the line says, what the hell? And starts working through the change in command, starts asking questions, and then ultimately just sighs okay, fine, just don't do this again. That's a great Foundry mission, though. I mean, this the secret history of how the Jaeger came to be. But of course, we would need it in the Foundry at the very least.
So now we have a screenshot of it on the stream there.
Yeah, but the Jaeger class is
the unholy abomination of awesomeness.
Yeah. Oh God.
I want it because it's horrible.
I mean, it is one of the most discordant ship designs because it is the lowest of Federation design technology with the highest end of that era, mixed together as one ship. And how is this supposed to work? I guess almost like you imagine the engineers just doing it on a bet. Like, I bet you can't take one of these transports and then use the parts from these Intrepid classes we weren't able to build and just build something. Come on, you can't possibly do that. Oh yeah, and then someone doesn't like, and then they have to live with the consequences. Put it that way. But yeah, I mean, with the Maquis Raider in the game, it's like all the parts are there. Cryptic just has to put it together and either do this as customization options for the Maquis Raider or probably the R&D prize ship. Kind of similar to the Amory class, because that was a derivative of the Huznok warship.
No. You got to put them as like a summer or winter event ship, because then they'll be everywhere.
Oh god. I mean, we're pretty. It's a pretty safe bet what those summer event ship's going to be, because we do still have one Vorgon ship left.
But it's guaranteed.
Yes.
Oh,
naturally.
Yeah. God, it's a winter event ship.
I think actually somebody found a listing. I think it might have been on Tribble of the 2-piece console set that we have now made into a 3-piece.
Yeah, that's usually how it breaks. Yeah, but oh god, okay, this has to happen as a winter event ship. I mean, that is just too good to pass up. Oh god, as a winter event
ship,
Raider,
I like that though.
It's multi-faction. Everyone can fly it. To make sure it's not just in the Federation, but it's also over Chronos. You have all these Jaeger classes. Oh god, the Knight of the Jaeger classes. God. Oh god. I mean, when we're laughing,
you know, Christmas is a great time for horror stories.
Well, it's like the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's like Hogs Watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you play off the expectation and just have a discordant theme, and there you go.
So I couldn't find a picture of the new DS9, so I just loaded up Tribble.
So you just went there. And isn't it excellent?
It is.
And also another cool thing is that they basically developed a crew. Before it was, there's really not many people around here, and those that are sort of generic. But now there's an actual crew in ops here. So this is the official crew of DS9 now in 2410.
So we got Sarish Minna, which we've met before. I think she was there before too. She's not new.
Yeah, she was running she was a major point of contact for a couple of the missions. Some of the newer episodes too.
Yeah, the new Dominion missions.
So she's basically doing like what you would kind of like just being the liaison with DS9. So she's the one who's giving you the orders, sending out the Defiant, that sort of thing. So doing the things that you might expect Kurland to do if he was, say, available to do new voice acting.
If he was, say, a member of SAG.
Yes.
Then Kirkland has been banished to the office.
Looking stoically out the window.
I think he's...
Commander Roxy is now the bridge officer trainer.
Yeah, and that was by request, too. So, I mean, if someone ever says, Cryptic never listens, no, that was a specific fan suggestion.
Yes, they totally listen.
It's fascinating. We were just on the old DS9 map, and the scale is just something that's also really remarkable with how this does feel like if you're just going on for the first time, it feels small and claustrophobic, but after a minute, it feels right to what your character actually is proportioned as.
So,
because the old one was definitely shooting really far out for the gameplay needs.
This is my favorite part right here.
Yeah, the engineering station.
No, the turbo lift, the pop-up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on the stream.
Yeah, the one that raises and lowers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and what I like is just go by one of the corners on the other side. One is permanently raised up, and that's where players come and go, because it would be a little problematic for the other one. But if you keep going to the other side, there's that one that raises and lowers. If you're playing over on the left-hand side, you can get it to do some pretty funny things. So, just on the outside, you just sort of circle around, kind of like next to the console, and then it's just like you trip it and then you don't trip it, you trip it, then you don't trip it, and it gets confused, and then it starts like snapping up and down. Unfortunately, you can't do that with anyone in it. But yeah, that's and there's also the new option on 222 that you can beam directly to ops.
Saw that. So you'll end up on the transporter
cool.
pad.
Yeah.
I think that was another, I think, player request.
And then there's now a return to your ship button.
So all in all, that this is something that was kind of above and beyond what they originally had thought they would have time to do. So thank a dev when you see them, because they really have been working all out for this.
Yeah, I mean they're putting a lot of volunteer time trying to get this as good as it possibly can be, and yeah, I'm really excited because we haven't Agents of yesterday had that had some really nice and nicely detailed stuff, but it feels like Cryptic going all out because they're working in the DS9 era when the sets are a little bit more elaborate.
A lot more. I mean a lot more, because there's obviously that intention of let's try and make it alien. We don't want it to look like the Bridge of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
So there's crazy angles and curves and all kinds of funny stuff.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of diversity too and variety on the Promenade with just how much stuff is coming in there. Because you've got Bajoran influences, Ferengi influences, civilian stuff, and it's just there's really just so much to these maps. And suffice to say, I would not be surprised if there's maybe some server loading problems with just long wait times to try to get down to DS9, because it is going to be a popular map.
It's going to be crowded at first.
Yeah, so if you're really wanting
given that we're just on the regular launch here, and there's 8, 9 instances.
Yeah, and
that's just on regular live.
Yeah, and especially with this being sort of the central point in the new mission arcs too, it is going to have additional levels of players coming in here as the new hub. So that's also another thing to note too, is that with a lot more players being in the Alpha Quadrant, if you want your mission to sort of be highlighted a little bit more, putting in the Beta Quadrant now might not be the best thing, because players might not be spending as much time over there. So this is a good opportunity to take a look at the Alpha Quadrant and see what stories you can tell within those planets, because there's Federation space, but also just a different type of mix. And we'll have Gamma Quadrant Foundry doors too. So yeah, it's just kind of a way to start thinking about what you're going to be building next. There's the dynamics of Star Trek Online are going to be changing just a little bit with this shift in focus to other areas. So yeah, just think about how you would, how to really kind of play with that zeitgeist, both in trying to make missions that are interesting to players, but also just making sure that you're putting them where people can actually find them.
Yeah. So speaking of missions and thinking about missions in the future, so Cryptic released a list of episodes of Deep Space Nine that they recommended people watch for upcoming stuff that's going to be in the expansion. And I thought we'd break those down just a little bit and maybe suggest a few of our own that could have cool Foundry follow-ups if people wanted to.
I should bring up that list because I actually haven't taken a look at that one yet.
Yeah, I've got
I know
it right
they've
here.
done it, but for me, it's I've kind of seen the whole thing of DS9, and
I think probably most of us have here.
Yeah, it's the one I can. It's the one I can most easily rewatch.
Okay, so the first one is from season 1. It's Battle Lines, which is the one where they take Kaiopaka to the Gamma Quadrant, and they land on this planet where everybody is in a perpetual state of warfare, and they all come back to life after they're killed, and she stays there.
Yes.
Which is a plot thread that's never followed up on in the show, which we can assume then that Cryptic is going to follow up on.
Yes, there is a specific mission that we know. I think it's the 3rd episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
there will be potential spoilers here that we might say.
Yeah.
Or we might speculate and get wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Sword of Kalis is actually going to be probably the least spoilery one because we know the Herc are involved and we know they have a thing with the Klingons.
Yeah. So we're
Yes,
going to find out stuff there.
Season 6, episode 10.
The Magnificent Ferengi is on the list, which kind of makes sense given that one of those hollow boffs is Lek, the Ferengi mercenary.
Yeah.
From that episode. So you wonder if he's going to make an appearance?
Yeah. I mean, that's just one of those things where it's just a hilarious episode. It kind of like strikes me as something that DS9 has the range to be able to do something like that and just use the characters in that way and be able to reflex them in that way and kind of just subvert the expectation of like the standard, like, oh, hostage situation, tense, dramatic. They could have just played that straight with a Federation crew, but no, they went for it.
So yeah, I mean, in STO terms, I mean, we have Rom, Nog, Lita, and Quark. So I mean, are we going to have a Ferengi mission?
Well, yeah, we also got Brunt too,
and Brunt, yes,
and the Liquidator.
Yeah. So
I mean, they're like
I'm thinking
mission,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a Ferengi mission would be excellent, especially like if it just involves the player in the middle just trying to control the situation, because that's basically going to play out like an SSF mission. Because I mean, that's an easy role for the player to fall into without having to write too much about them, where they're just sort of like in there to try to play damage control and almost like be the muscle in that situation. So almost be the adult in the room is maybe one way to look at it, but
there you go.
Yeah. But there's also, Starship Down. That was when they were which one? Okay, so there was
so a lot of these are basically things that give you insight into the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure that wasn't the one where they were like talking with a Federation captain who was down on a planet.
No, that's Sound of Her Voice.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so Starship Down is the one where they find a crashed Jem'Hadar starship, and our crew tries to take it and salvage it, but the Jem'Hadar come and try and deny that. So, and it turns out there's a founder trapped within it.
Yeah, and it kind of the way that episode ended for me always felt a little. I don't know. I mean, it just didn't really fit with their character reactions at the end of the episode, but it is a good one overall. Where they're trying to make
it.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make a point, but it was just kind of like one of those things where they were trying to make a point within a very small time frame. So, for me,
actually,
it's just kind of like
Sir Boulevard is pointing out that that's not Starship Down. Starship Down is. That's the So that's the one where they go down to the gas giant.
Yeah, I like that one.
And that's the one where we have the Karma.
Yeah, and that is a system in the Gamma Quadrant, so that could be.
We will see the Karma. Likely it's not.
Is that the alien that was also played by
James Cromwell?
Yeah.
No, it was Rene Auberjonois.
No, that was Cromwell. Oh, that was Cromwell.
Yeah.
Because he definitely was Cochrane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great like character arc with Quark, and that was
that was a good one.
Yeah, and it's just especially with Quark actually having to kind of just be his old self while at the same time reaching out a little bit more. So that was interesting just for setting up all these little small character moments in the episode while also doing a kind of a standard but still a pretty dramatic scenario, basically sub hunting.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those that space as an ocean kind of metaphors.
Yeah, so that was that's a good one. The search.
So what was the one that I was trying to reference there? What was the name of that?
I'm kind of surprised though they didn't do the Siege of AR as
well,
as one of these recommendations.
It's a pretty sparse list as far I was surprised there weren't more on it.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously there's still quite a lot of.
I guess it's basically there for. I mean, not just to give sort of the background, but these are things that will be much more directly connected. Although in the Pale Moonlight, what was that one?
Oh, that's the one with the Romulans, where.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Cisco does something underhanded to get the Romulans into the
involved. Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh.
You maybe wonder if that might come back to haunt you.
Yep.
It's almost like too tempting for Cryptic to
Well,
pass up.
I mean, since they do have Garrick.
Actually, it is interesting though that they're not referencing the episodes with Section 31 with the founder virus. Yeah, so that's one that was something I was kind of expecting them to maybe reference, like between like just like as an offhand reference by some founder or another, but no, that's not there. So yeah, that's good.
There are better opportunities to utilize Section 31.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want them to be brought in the game anytime soon again, because they're too easy to write for.
I want a Franklin Drake origin.
Wrongly. I mean, that would be a good thing to do, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
but I've said this many times, but I think they're too easy to write for wrongly.
Yeah, because I mean, the only times I've actually written for them, like invoked Section 31, is by people who aren't Section 31, using the mystique of Section 31 to get people to do things they shouldn't do. So it's not even Section 31 using the reputation wrongly. It is other people by intention using the Section 31 wrongly. So that's just the it's one of those things where like any given time you could invoke Section 31, you can also just invoke Starfleet officers acting on their own initiative at the very least and making questionable decisions that really just factor back to themselves as people. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's a very shorthand reference to like the ends justifying the means, but you can write that in so many different ways that just don't involve Section 31. I mean, we've got plenty of episodes. Like the one with O'Brien and his old captain. One of the first Cardassian episodes.
Oh, Benjamin Maxwell.
Wounded, yes.
Yeah. Just my favorite episode of Star Trek ever.
Yeah, that was a good one. And yeah, so to DS9 though, for other episodes.
Well, what you got here is, as well on this list, the last little bits of it is kind of the introduction of the Jem'Hadar, which is the episode called The Jem'Hadar, and then the Search Part 1 and 2, which certainly introduces the Dominion, has a lot of information on the Dominion itself and how it's structured. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the Abandon, which of course we know that the young Jem'Hadar that Odo tried to raise and was kind of ultimately unsuccessful, is coming back as a character.
Yes.
A major
we just got a lore blog about him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although one thing that's I'm surprised they didn't really do is actually do the episode. I'm terrible with the names tonight. The episode where Odo's working with his adoptive father, that researcher, on a young changeling.
Dr. Mora,
yeah. And they kind of get into how he was found.
This is called The Begotten.
Yeah. I mean, because that would just be a great episode just to shine a little bit more light on Odo. I mean, just some of those ones, or like him working as the one where he was in season 1, he's investigating the murder of the former collaborator. Or he's investigating, an attack related to the murder of a former collaborator who ultimately was Kira. Because that just has a lot of great character moments for those two in particular. So yeah, I mean, you can get into a lot more character backstory with the recommendations. But yeah, this is definitely major plot points.
Yes.
By the looks of it. Because
of course the last one on there is What You Leave Behind, which of course is the sort of latest canon moments where DS9 leaves off. So we're obviously rejoining them some 30, 40 years later.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it's kind of essential. But yeah, I guess if like people want to dig deeper, then basically you're going to be looking at episodes that really define certain characters. So, and then that would just be the list of cameos. So
yeah,
I would say
we've got Dr. Bashir.
Yeah, the episode where he basically comes out as an augment, that'd be a great one.
That's a good one. Things that speak to his character, like Armand Bashir, the spy episode, or the James Bond episode, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, the for Garrick, the episode where it's dealing with his addiction to an implant
called The Wire.
The Wire. There we go.
It's excellent episode.
I would highly recommend The Wire for getting into Garrick and Bashir as well, for those two characters.
We have Kira, who's going to be in a very different place from where we left her off. She's going to be the Kai of Bajor.
And there's a lot of
which I mean
episodes
totally fits her character. Because she was always very religious, and one of Captain Revo just watched this episode recently, and I can't remember what it is. The Reckoning, I believe, was where one of the Pa Wraiths comes along and fights a prophet, and takes over. Who is it they take over?
They take over Jake
Sisko, and yeah, and it's one of those that demonstrates how actually, I mean, sincere her faith is compared to Kai Wynn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you see a lot of that later in the 7th season too, where the Wynn is basically faced with the choice of do the right thing, give up your power, or basically shun everything you've believed. And she, of course, chooses her power over her belief.
Yeah. And I mean, Battle Lines would also be a good one for that, because that does feature, well, we're dealing with the Kai. It's also going to be featuring a lot with Kira's relationship with that.
I haven't played that mission, so I don't know how it turns out.
Yeah, well,
it is one of the ones that is available on Tribble right now.
Yeah, I haven't played any of the playable content yet. I haven't even gone through the Gem Art tutorial because I'm wanting to save that for the actual launch day.
Honestly,
I was thinking about what are things that that a Foundry author could follow up on that you could pick out, and I was wondering about early on in the show they went to the Gamma Quadrant quite a number of times and came across some civilizations there that you could follow up on. I'm trying to remember what those actually are.
Is Johnny Snowball in the chat? I'm gonna look up.
He was
in the chat before. Okay, Johnny Snowball, this is the mission I want you to make. I want you to do a Wadi mission where they play another game. Because I think this would be great for A, building, and B, puzzles for the player. And also, C, really annoying but funny characters that you want to punch by the end of the mission. I mean...
So at the end of the mission, they get the option to punch the Wadi.
Well, yeah, something like that. Or they're sort of competing with another group. Oh, here we go. The player is entered into a Wadi game against the Boss Cat Syndicate. So you not only you're just trying to beat the game, but you're also scheming with and against the other team, against the Wadi or towards the actual game. So, I mean, Boss Cat, of course, being Boss Cat, is trying to buy his way out of the situation. So he's like, maybe if you do this, and oh man. I mean, no, I think coming out of retirement for a Wadi episode might be worth it, but
yeah.
I mean, if you just go full on just bizarre comedy, like,
yeah.
I mean, just okay. Here we go.
Absurdity.
Oh God. Okay, here's how you do it. It's the Wadi, but the Wadi have shifted taste a little bit from just that sort of bizarre abstraction, which is classical Wadi. You do Pop Wadi, which is basically a most extreme elimination challenge / Takeshi's Castle / any Japanese game show. I mean, oh man.
Just call the mission the new game.
The new game. I mean, you're maybe beta testing it, and it is just, it's for Wadi sensibilities. They're trying to reach out, and you're just like, hey, is this intercultural exercise? Will you play this? Okay, and then it just goes completely off the rails from there.
I can't even follow that up with anything good.
You could make that. You could take it really bizarre, and say that the game is like is beta and has bugs, but it starts glitching out so badly. It starts suggesting things about how the character is itself only within yet another game, and like go a little meta into the fact that we're playing Stowe.
This could be a Starfleet security mission. Because, I mean, of all the people in Star Trek Online, besides Admiral Aaron, who would you least want to be in this situation with? The game's glitching out, you're in a life and death situation, and you've got the Starfleet security team with you. I mean, it's like we've got the Top Gear cast, and we got to try to figure a way out of this situation.
No, I know exactly who I wouldn't want to be in there with. Cooper.
Oh. Well, it'd just be annoying. Well, actually, real Cooper or Undine Cooper?
Either one.
Okay. Actually, like, there's some argument. Real Cooper was the competent one and actually had some initiative, and it's fake Cooper who was the sniveling coward.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah. But anyway, though, I mean, the Wadi would be a fun one because you could just go completely off the walls with that type of game show build. Starfar Theta, it also I could really pull this one off because he's done some similar stuff in the past with the virtual domain.
So there's another one that I was looking at, which is from season 1 called Dramatis Persona. It's where let's see, something like a Klingon ship returns from the Gamma Quadrant, and they all turned against each other and killed each other. Yeah, and there's something like the clock artifact or there's some sort of artifact or something that came from the Gamma Quadrant that turns them all against each other. Mm-hmm. Never really went back to that civilization, so it's like what happened to them? Who are they?
Yeah, that would be
that all this stuff originated from.
Yeah, that's a lot of ground to fill in. Also,
I'd have to go back and watch that episode again because I can't remember.
A revisit to the Tosk Hunter civilization would be good, especially if we get the armor in game, because that is being included in the lockbox. So, if we get that, then that's totally an option we could do.
And we've got the character parts in the
I'd say we've actually always had Tosk parts.
We've also got the Hunter nose, which is a very small one, and you kind of don't notice it as much. But I mean, you could do the full. We would just need the Hunter armor, and then we're basically good to go on that one. Visiting the Tosk Hunter civilization would be good, because I mean, you could do a very conventional episode where you become the Hunt.
This isn't an original thought by me, but I know somebody suggested visiting that hologram civilization.
Oh yeah,
one where the creator basically wanted to keep the memory of his people alive and then recreated them as holograms.
Yeah, that's one.
Like, what has happened to them in the time since?
Johnny Snowball's linked something up.
Maybe they discovered their maybe they discovered their nature and have become a warlike race of photonics. Bent on destroying all biological life.
Oh, you know what you could do? Here's how you do the twist on the Wadi episode. They're using that technology and those holograms, and for their new game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
this is what Johnny Snowball just shared.
Yeah, he's a Hunter. So yeah, we can really do that pretty well, especially with the Zindi hairstyle. That's a good take on it.
So I'm wondering, okay, so you remember there's this episode where Dr. Bashir is destroying all the last of this biological weapon for these two alien civilizations that have been fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turns out that they have to go on the run for some reason, him and Bashir, or him and O'Brien.
Oh, yeah, because what they did, the aliens tried to do was basically kill anyone with knowledge of that engineered weapon. So they basically tried to wipe out the that research team, including Bashir and O'Brien, and then they go on the run, and then in the commotion, O'Brien gets infected.
I was trying to figure out, is that in the Gamma Quadrant or is it not?
Ooh, good question.
And the episode doesn't say, apparently.
I mean, it's Federation. I kind of assume not.
I mean, but either way, that's something you could do.
Okay, at that point,
maybe these people are still fighting each other.
They were communicating with DS9, correct, in real time?
I don't remember.
Because if they were, I would say that would put in the Alpha Quadrant. Because I don't know if at that point they had instantaneous communication through the wormhole yet. Because that was
that was the one with the 3 Vipers.
Yeah. So if it's predating that episode and they have a comm to DS9 at any point, I would say that would be Beta Quadrant, but you could still or Alpha Quadrant, but you could still do it. You just have to be careful about where you actually place that mission.
Now there's another one that is Jem'Hadar related, but was not on the list that Cryptic provided. So maybe they're not going to go here yet. Which is, I'm trying to find where it is. I believe it's called Hippocratic Oath.
Oh yeah,
it's where Bashir. They're basically taken hostage by a Jem'Hadar who has kicked the addiction to white.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to, says, make my men like me. And so basically he's essentially a renegade Jem'Hadar, which, the idea of a renegade Jem'Hadar is certainly fertile ground for a Foundry mission.
Oh, yeah. Also, I'm trying to find the episode. Let's see.
And of course, we're just talking about Jem'Hadar's based episodes to the death.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Rocks and Shoals.
Mhm.
That's where they're in a standoff with a crashed Jem'Hadar team.
Yes.
And they're playing against Kevon. I think that'd be a great episode just to kind of go through as sort of like Kevon as a template for how to do a renegade Vorta. Because you just play off those motivations, spin them out a little bit more, and you might have someone who is able to push their loyalty to the founders to a much more marginal extent. So, yeah, I mean, just as a Kevon Vorta villain, Kevon is a pretty good template.
Definitely.
Let's see. I mean, Who Mourns for Morn involved a lot of miscellaneous stuff from around that region.
You're sort of low lifes.
Yeah. So, I mean, to
Criminal
fill that
element.
out, if you need to do more criminal elements around DS9, that'd be a good one to take off on. Let's see. There was also that one where, where was this? This was it was the beginning of a two-parter. It was where Garrick is ultimately trying to kill him, like fake his own death.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
the whole thing with the
It was
Nobrantane and
yeah. So that was
the
season.
joint alliance between the Obsidian Order and the Tel Shiar.
it was season 3. It's called Improbable Cause, and
There we
the
go.
die is cast as part 2.
Okay, so Improbable Cause did involve another species that was employed by the Aflaxian, typically employed by the Tal Shiar as assassins,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another species that would be just fun to bring in for this particular region. Just as just things to fill out and just play with the setting here. Of course, mirror universe stuff. That's kind of really well established in Star Trek Online. So we.
Yes.
Not
Not that that's going to stop anybody. We all love going back to the mirror universe.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean there are let's see. I mean just any Ferengi episode. So Profit Motive, House of Quark to a limited extent. I'm looking for the one where
It'd be fun. It'd be pretty funny if they brought in anything from anything official from the House of Quark, like if they brought in Grilka.
Well, Greco
Yeah.
is married to Worf.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
is
she
the
is,
mother of the captain of the Bortescue.
Really?
Yeah. That was in Path to 2409.
Oh, I totally missed that.
I'm just looking for the episode where
It's been a long time since I've read The Path to 2409.
so
All right, so recommended reading for Foundry authors: find The Path to 2409.
I wish there
wherever
was a good
it's on.
place for that.
Oh, I think there is.
No, it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I always find it just by Googling it.
I mean,
let's
there's
see.
ones
I'm
that
just
list out the answers to the Path of 2409, but
Oh, there's
quiz,
one that lists out the full sections too. I think it might just be on the Stowe Wiki, but in a more difficult place to find than it should be. But just any of the missions that take place, or any of the episodes that take place on Ferenginar too. Those are pretty good ones. I'm just trying to find that first one where Quark finds that his mother is not what she seems.
Was it called like Family Business or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. It's family.
Let's say it's maybe like season 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm looking for that right now. So it's not 1, is it? No, because 1 just has the Nagus. So Circle, the Homecoming, Siege, Invasive Procedures, Cardassian, Thalora, Rules of Acquisition. Rules of Acquisition's a just more fun one for ranking.
I think that one introduced the Grand Nagus.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Grand Nagus introduced the Grand Nagus, or the Nagus introduced the Grand Nagus.
Oh, right.
Because that was
okay. Family Business, season 3, episode 23.
Okay, there it is. I mean, because that one's just more Ferenginar stuff, and we do have Ferenginar in the sector block, and me and Johnny Simple have done stuff on Ferenginar now. So it is possible in the Foundry.
Another one is, if you want to do something like I was thinking about with some kind of successor group or following up on the story of the Maquis. Obviously, there's quite a few. Is very, very heavily involved in Deep Space Nine. From season 2 with the Maquis, that title episode. And going all the way through and going through the Eddington saga, ending in season 5.
Wait,
late season 5 with Blaze of Glory is basically the last Maquis episode.
Is that the last Eddington episode too?
Yes.
This is interesting. Okay, I didn't realize this. I kind of just had to stop here because I saw Zenketh in one of the episode descriptions.
Yeah,
and it's the adversary where the Zenkethi were basically they had a coup against their autarch at the instigation of well, was it an instigation of a changeling or?
Well, see, this is what the crew was told.
Yeah,
it may have been a lie.
Yeah,
because that changeling was basically trying to start a war between the Federation and Zenkethi.
Yes, there we go. So I mean, you could
of course,
that in. I mean,
this is the episode that established the Zenkethi and then didn't show them, which of course launched 1,000 imaginations.
Yes, but I mean that's one just to kind of go back to, just to sort of reference the Zenkethi and be able to kind of fix a point that kind of involves them in the changeling. So maybe there was something there. So an author can kind of write into that space as either taking that literally and there was a coup instigated by the Zenkethi, or there wasn't, but the Zenkethi after the fact maybe currently suspect there might have been changeling involvement somewhere. So, I mean, you can kind of spin that situation out a few different ways.
Well, we know the Zenkethi are probably going to continue to be involved here.
Yes. We did spend a significant episode going through the motivations of a Zenkethi, so I think Cryptic is not going to just leave the story off.
Well, I mean, the motivations of a Zenkethi who was not happy with what's going on, and also, showing what, the extremes that they are willing to go to.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to get a payoff somewhere in the future. It's hard to say where, but I don't see Cryptic just kind of leaving that one off.
We may know on Tuesday, for those of us willing to play through all the missions at once. It is worth noting that Cryptic will probably continue to release missions in the months following. That will probably, continue a lot of these storylines.
I'm kind of just expecting that with the summer event that they might be like not as sort of regular as we might be expecting. So usually they try to keep a release every 3 months. And we might see a new episode then, but with the summer event going in full swing, they might try to I don't know. I mean, it could be one of those things where it could be a little bit more sparse, a little bit more filled with just normal stuff and the summer event at the same time.
We might, I mean, if patterns hold, we might see something in like August or September.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. Yeah. So definitely more missions, more content, and we'll see what comes to the Foundry. Because we've been making suggestions, and we'll see how, well, basically, beyond the obvious ones, how many Kale has actually been writing down.
Okay, so...
We want all of the things.
we want everything. Okay, so to wrap up, so we've had 4 expansions now. 3 of them have been very focused on one particular show. So we've had Voyager, and we've had TOS, and now we've got Deep Space Nine. So that leaves, as far as focusing in expansion, TNG.
Which, I mean, well, it wasn't expansion last year, was focused on TNG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just talking expansions here.
We've
got TNG, we've got Enterprise, and we have Discovery.
I bet
and I would throw a third one in there, which is the TOS movie era.
Yeah.
Because that's quite significantly different in feel.
Yeah. I could see the TOS.
What would you do next?
Okay, for an expansion, TNG Borg. I mean, that's an easy one. That is really, because it hasn't been part of Stowe for a while. The cooperative is the other most requested faction or mini faction, and it's pretty easy to see how they could do it now. It's another endgame faction, and they have some unique mechanics on their ships. And having access to all of a allied equivalent, like an allied faction, I mean, that just simplifies things greatly. And I mean, the one thing though I would absolutely demand from this though, it's a Borg co-op faction with alien gen as a species option. I don't think it would work any other way, because I don't think with the Borg having that natural, every drone you see is usually a different species, locking it down to like 2, 3, 4 of a set variety, no, that's not going to work. It's got to be alien gen, Klingon, human, Romulan, and then maybe Jem'Hadar. But yeah, I would do that cooperative mini faction, and then just play off Borg. You kind of have to go for a little bit of the Voyager aesthetic, but basically First Contact is what you'd be referencing most there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's definitely how I would go.
We could, and then as we harp on many times, we could finally revisit Vega.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that'd be basically the tutorial mission for the cooperative faction would be being an officer on, like, being on Vega for whatever reason. And
Well, I want to see the Borg ground battle zone revamped for Vega.
Yeah. And that'd be an easy thing to throw in as like one of the major features of the season.
Yeah.
So you have the story taking place around Vega. You've got the battle zone on Vega. And then you've got a bunch of different things. I mean, the Borg Red Alert system, I mean, you can make another sector battle zone out of that. So that's a thing you can also do.
Well, I mean, I would love to see another ground battle zone. I mean, we haven't.
Oh no,
had
I'm just saying you could.
Yeah,
we
haven't had we haven't had one that was, anything like
Voth.
the Voth
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so a Voth battle zone. I'm just saying you could also do that on top of a Voth battle zone. So you have a ground battle zone and a sector battle zone.
We
or
could,
just more stuff in the sector alerts. I mean, just do something with the sector block, because just to revamp the Borg Red Alert system. So maybe not do it as elaborate as the Gamma Quadrant battle zone system, but just do something with red alerts. Because
I
that
wouldn't
would
mind
also...
taking some of the story elements from the original STFs and kind of revamp those into like proper story missions.
Yeah, I mean, that would also be another great one. Just to really just take a look at those missions again. I don't know how much people would be willing to tolerate change now. I mean, a few years ago,
Well,
people
I don't think replacing the queues per se, but taking the story elements that were in those original SDFs in their original form and extracting those into a proper like single player missions.
Yeah, or just analogous stuff. I mean, it's star-based invasion. I don't know, like going back in time for the new Kittimer stuff. That would be interesting if they already had like TOS movie elements.
So I had a whole plan about how this would work. That you basically would be, it wouldn't take place at Kittimer. Basically, what would happen is you would go back in time, and basically you would be the reason that the Kittimer and what was the other ship in the tutorial now? That Regent class one.
That's the. Isn't that the Kittimer?
No, the Kittimer is the disabled, like sovereign variant.
Well, that is the yeah. So you have the sovereign
there was the
variant,
other,
and then you have the Regent class.
Whatever that ship was.
Yeah.
Basically, they stay behind to hold off the Borg, except they're completely outnumbered. And I'm saying that after tutorial you leaves, future you comes up and saves them, and that's how they survive.
There you go. Horian's got it. It's the Renown.
The Renown. That was it. So yeah. Basically, future you saves the Renown.
Apparently, there are some changes to the tutorial and some of the early missions with Victory's Life. The Chimera is replacing the Renown in the tutorial.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's with Captain Nog.
Then maybe we save the Chimera.
Well, another way you could play that, though, is that same scenario, but a Borg cooperative saves them.
Maybe.
So you could because you could actually play off the tutorial, like the intro for the Borg cooperative, as being on the flip side, like just taking place concurrently with the Fed tutorial. So, like, you fill in elements from that with cooperative doing something. So maybe not like a cooperative ship arrives, but you're basically on one of the cubes, or on the transwarp gate or something, and you as an individual like play a pivotal role in actually diffusing that scenario. So yeah, you can still use the same setup and just play that off either with time travel with an endgame mission, or weave that into the tutorial, depending on how you want to play that focus.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of trying to save some of the original story from New Kittimer.
Yeah.
Or Kittimer Chords, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the yeah, I mean,
there's unfortunately a lot of story fragments that are sort of remaining.
Yeah.
That are less cohesive than they were originally. So I it would take a lot of reorganization, but I think that would actually be of benefit.
Yeah, and that's definitely sort of a great ground for a revamp of just that general story, how it resolves, and what else
make it
is
more
associated
cohesive.
with it. Yeah, that'd be a great opportunity there, because we haven't really. I mean, there aren't many other things to revamp the game right now. I mean, there's a little bit of the Fat Clear arc, but at the same time, that does serve pretty well for its original purpose. So I mean, it's a little rough, but at the same time, it is functional.
Not to mention, the Borg would be a great opportunity to get to know Captain Sean better, since he's got connections to Vega.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I was thinking of was, okay, so we went through TNG, possible expansions for Enterprise or the TOS movie eras would be to pick up on things that we haven't picked up on yet. So for the TOS movie eras, I'm thinking Whale Probe.
Well, yes, Whale Probe. I mean, that's just my go-to joke for Tier 6, but I mean, that is just a great thing to...
Yeah.
I mean, it's enigmatic, so it's like, hey, just fill that in, and
Mm-hmm.
fill that in maybe with maybe a link to the civilization that also built the giant space cornucopia, the Doomsday Machine. I mean, because...
I almost feel like with the Whale Probe, it's one of those things that nothing you come up with could ever be as cool as your imagination.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, definitely have to...
I mean, there is that for sure, but I think it'd still be fun to try.
Yeah. What you could do, though, is basically... this is the way I would approach it. You don't make the species comprehensible or shown in any way. You basically just add on to the mystique with more mystique. So you just do more things that you might seem like you're answering a question, but then you're just raising up a whole lot more possibilities. So kind of like just just giving them more of a presence, just more of an opportunity to show up, go into a little bit, but then you're not closing things off. You're still leaving things wide open. Because that's the Whale Probe. I mean, you don't.
And here's another thing: is that you bring in these indie aquatics as characters. Maybe they come on board your ship and help you out with the Whale Probe or something.
Assuming though that the thing was just interested in cetaceans rather than the most intelligent life form on a planet. Because for the Xindi, it'd be a little bit weird, because which one of them would be coming to sentience first? I mean, if you said it was the whales,
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be that aspect of it, but it become we need experts to help us with this Whale Probe. You guys are cetaceans. Come help us.
But it'd be funny if the whale, the cetacean or the Xindi aquatics basically said, okay, but these guys aren't necessarily interested in whales, right? And then you're just like, okay. I mean, just to bring the Xindi aquatics in, it'd be funny, but you just immediately downplay the whale thing, because that would be basically saying a lot.
Say we're here, but it just not interested in us. It won't talk to us. Why not?
Yeah.
Why won't it talk to us?
And then you have the player explain. Yeah, it happens to be approaching the Xindi aquatics, and then you discover it's not just interested in whales. Because I think if you just made it aquatic focused, that would make it a lot more comprehensible. Because then it's like, oh, that's what the species thinks. But if it just it's any kind of intelligence, then that in my view feels a lot more alien still. So even it coming to the Horda, something like that. It arrives at a different system, and the first it arrives in another system. The first goal is what is it doing? It's doing really weird things on the planet, sending down microprobes that are just they're not really scanning, they're not really hostile, but they're also not friendly either. And you got to figure out what's going on, and you discover it'd be kind of a great way of introducing a new type of life form, which you didn't think was intelligent but is intelligent. I know which one it could be after. And you're going through the planet, you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of fungal life on this planet. I mean, there's a lot of spores on this planet, but there doesn't seem to be anything. Oh, wait a minute, what's that wearing an adorable hat?
Oh, great. Now I know. I just realized where this is going.
I mean, just like the whale probe is investing in the tardigrades, and you find that the tardigrades are actually intelligent, and one of them joins your crew at the end of the mission.
This is an elaborate plot to get a tardigrade bomb.
I think though, in all respects, that would be my favorite mission Star Trek Online could possibly do. The whale probes investigate tardigrades, and you're just doing an open exploration mission in an elaborate sort of biological scenario, trying to figure out this whale probe, this alien technology, and some other stuff with some hostile life forms as well. And you're just trying to figure it out, and by the end, you're rewarded with tardigrades.
Let me ask one question. How do you know the whale probe isn't the tardigrades?
Because there's... Wait, no, I know. Because the tardigrades have more aesthetic sense than just to do a giant cylinder. They would be... Like, you've got a giant, basically, blackboard. If it was tardigrades, they would have covered the entire thing with small, little, adorable doodles. They'd be on that hull constantly, just drawing more and more things on top of it. So it wouldn't just be black, flat black. It would be fabulous. I mean, just like all the colors of the rainbow arranged on the hull, just all these small little cartoons. Yeah, that'd be the tardigrade whale probe.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to end. So, Dragoon, if you want to put up our contact info.
Cannot end soon enough.
We could another descent into madness.
We can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at Foundry Roundtab. Dragoon can be reached at Dragoon1701. Duncan can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. And I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We will be taking a break next week as I will be out of town, and everybody can just have some fun playing Victory is Life stuff. And then we will be back as usual after that.
And I think we have been discussing like a playthrough of the Jemadar missions.
Yeah, you can do something like that.
Yep. And
I'll leave it to you guys if you want to do something while I'm gone.
We might wait for you.
I was just going to add right before we go is that once the Foundry does sort of stabilize after Victory is Life, we will be looking into another Foundry challenge.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, there's that. So with that,
all right.
Good night.
Yep, we will sign off and say good night.
Good night.